so much for joining us. So what's your reaction to this declaration of a state of emergency and a curfew by President Mohamed Morsi?
Well, I think that the calling of a 30-day state of emergency and indeed the imposition of a curfew essentially in 3 provinces is an absolute disaster for Egyptians and indeed for the rest of the world who had so much optimism for the Arab Spring popular revolutions. And of course, nobody expected that the transition towards democracy would be smooth and fault-free. But here we are, 2 years on, and Egypt is plunged into chaos.
It was chaos. I mean, that's the word to describe this weekend. We saw violence in various parts of Egypt, and a place like Port Said, we saw dozens of deaths again Saturday and Sunday. I mean, the president had to do something and is trying to restore order.
Yes, indeed, that's absolutely what he claims to be doing. But the number one duty of any government is indeed to protect its citizens. And what we're seeing in Egypt at the moment is the failure to do so. And in fact, an awful lot of Egyptians are dying on Egyptian streets. And the fact that the military is effectively given a free rein to restore law and order by resorting to any means like indiscriminate arrests or indeed the use of violence to restore that stability that's much needed is an indication that effectively it is likely to inflame the situation rather than appease the tensions.
Well, certainly some people are very upset by this statement by Mohamed Morsi, but what other options were open to him, if not emergency law, to try to restore some order?
Well, I think what people would argue is that one of the primary aims of the revolution that started 2 years ago was to bring about an end to military rule. And what the president is doing is giving the military even more power. And that's a fundamental problem in any functioning democracy.
He has put a limit, though, of 30 days. What do you read into that? Is that him trying to appease the opposition?
It's also an attempt to simplify the chaotic situation. It's far more, he obviously blamed anarchists for the chaos, but the situation is far more serious than that, and it has political dimensions. The reason why so many people demonstrated on the streets of Egypt across the country 4 years ago, and the demonstrations and protests are still going on a massive scale, is precisely because the government, the president who won power in a legitimate manner in free and fair elections, has failed to deliver on the pressing problems that Egyptians are facing. There are still promises that remain unfulfilled, such as delivering on jobs, education, and indeed a just society as a whole.
What's interesting is this also sort of centered on football, because it all started originally on the death sentences of the 21 football fans that were accused of inciting a riot. Also, we heard from our correspondent in Port Said that there's a lot of anger from the regions in a way towards Cairo. Are we going to see that kind of split as well, or to have that more pronounced?
Well, I think the incidents that occurred over the last few years reflect the division within the country itself. We have essentially the Muslim Brotherhood, which is in power and is likely to do well at the forthcoming elections, but also different sections of the population, including liberals, leftists, and secularists, who feel that they are not being represented by the power and by the president, who claims to be the president for all Egyptians, but he doesn't convey, his policies effectively do not reflect that.
Nabila Ramdani, a Middle East analyst, thank you so much for sharing these with us. Now, around 100